Hello everyone and welcome to this new edition of Initiative Africa. Today, let's discover together the innovative initiatives that are shaping the water landscape on a unique island in Benin. But before we delve into these inspiring stories, here is the summary of our program. An exclusive interview with Mossadeck Bally, CEO and founder of the Azalai Hotel Group. Discover his inspiring journey, his vision for the hotel industry in Africa, and the challenges when it comes to building a recognized brand on the continent.
Everything starts with a vision, and my entrepreneurial vision was really to create a pan-African hotel chain, and that's what we've managed to do in 30 years.
Fly to Benin with us and discover how water resources are managed on the island of Agonvè. Find out how inhabitants of this island preserve their water resources.
When the river Weme floods and enters the lake, it is said that it is forbidden to fish on the lake.
Recycling waste into eco-friendly paving stones for roads is an environmental solution that is making headway in Africa, and it's coming to Bamako.
It's to protect the environment. Plastics are non-biodegradable. It's an activity that not only helps to keep the town clean, but also to combat environmental pollution.
Meet the inhabitants of Agonvè Island near Cotonou in Benin, who have taken an innovative approach to the integrated management of water resources. Discover the original practices and strategies put in place by this community to preserve and sustainably exploit their precious water resources. Reported by our correspondent in Benin, Aloge Aidasso.
Looking at the face expression of Asobba, a fisherman on the island of Agonvè, you know that fishing has been good. Successful catch yield thanks to a system of integrated management of the lake's fishery resources set up by the community itself.
When the river Weme floods and enters the lake, it is said that it is forbidden to fish on the lake. At this time of the year, the lake is left fallow. When the water recedes, the fishing community, together with the wise men and the village chiefs, meet to consult the oracle of the Fa, so that they can choose a day to open the lake and start fishing.
During high water, generally from August onwards, the lake surrounding the island is closed to fishing. The ban lasts for 6 months. In the 7th month, in January of the following year, fishing is allowed again. To ensure that everyone complies with the closed season, several night surveillance teams are deployed. Anyone caught in the act pays a fine of 100,000 CFA francs. This actually keeps away potential offenders.
At closing time, there are controls on the lake to prevent thieving fishermen from destroying the lake.
In addition to the ban on exploiting the lake during the period of its closure, the community has introduced other prohibitions that are taboo and must not be transgressed.
A menstruating woman must not cross the lake. It is part of our taboos. It's forbidden to wear red clothes. It's also forbidden to wash with soap in the lake. The use of prohibited gear, like fine mesh nets, is forbidden because it destroys the fish.
This whole series of bans prevents the watercourse from being polluted by chemicals and preserves fish stocks. This provides better conditions for restocking the lake's animal resources. And during the period when fishing is banned, local people develop alternative activities such as agriculture, market gardening and petty trading. When fishing is finally authorized, everyone is generally happy.
At the time of the opening, people came from Nigeria, Togo, and in Benin, people came from Cotonou, Port Novo, from all corners to catch fish. Last year, we found a lot of fish.
This integrated water resource management approach is a very good initiative, according to a specialist in environmental planning and water quality.
This gives the resource the time it needs to develop and grow into fry, which are fish, prawns, crabs, and oysters. So it's a good example of the development of integrated water resource planning.
In the lake, more than 100 species of water resources coexist, and if fishing is profitable, says one fisherman, he can make around 100,000 CFA francs in one night. This model provides local people with the resources they need to meet their needs, but also helps to safeguard the ecosystem.
It's a good model that we can try out in many other lakes. If we can make an effort to realize that the water resources of this lake need to grow and develop before they can be used, then fishing for small fish, fry and fingerlings will come to a halt, and will be able to fish only for crabs, prawns and oysters that are old enough to eat.
Despite the precautions people are taking to avoid polluting the lake, recent studies have revealed the beginnings of chemical, organic and microbiological pollution of the water body.
The integrated management of water resources as practiced on the island of Agonvè is still at an archaic stage because it is the communities themselves who are preparing and organizing themselves to manage the water body. We can do better. We can support them. The NGOs can help them.
The way in which the local people have managed the island's water resources reflects their awareness that it is by allowing the resources to reproduce that they will in turn be able to feed themselves.
The son of a leading Malian businessman, Mossadeck Bally, has drawn on his father's entrepreneurial heritage to forge his own destiny. Inspired by his father's lessons and also the challenges in the business world, he has forged his own path to entrepreneurship with a bold vision and unwavering determination. He founded the Azalai Hotels Group, building a hotel empire that now extends across West Africa. Let's listen to him.
Mossadeck Bally, hello.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us on Initiative Africa.
It's a pleasure.
What were your initial motivations for creating the Azalai Hotels chain, and how have you achieved your objectives so far?
Well, after my studies in France and the United States, I returned to Mali and worked in trade, international trade, for about 10 years. We imported and distributed staple foodstuff, rice, sugar, and all that. And I spent 10 years doing that. I learned a lot, in particular from a great man, a great coach, a great mentor. It was my father who really trained me as an entrepreneur, a profession that I've now been practicing for almost 4 decades. But I wasn't intellectually satisfied because with a small team of 10 or 15 people, I was churning out big figures and I was looking to diversify, to get out of the trading business into a high-value added industry. That's when I came up with the idea of entering the hotel industry. First of all, I had suppliers complaining about the quality of the hotels in Bamako, and at the time, there were only 2 state-run hotels in Mali. So I drew up a business plan, put in a bid and set up a company, Société Malienne de Promotion Hôtelier, with other Malian shareholders. We bid on the privatization of Grand Hotel de Bamako, and then we were lucky enough to win, and that was the start of the Azalai adventure.
What do you consider to be the fundamental values of a good entrepreneur?
For me, values. For me, what or who is an entrepreneur? An entrepreneur is first and foremost a dreamer. This means he has a vision. It took me 10 years to find my vision. I always say to young people, start by looking inside of yourself. First, you have to ask yourself if you want to be an entrepreneur and why you want to be one. Is it just because I, Mossadeck, Bally, has become an entrepreneur? Do I want to be an entrepreneur or because my father was an entrepreneur? I want to be an entrepreneur or because it's trendy. That's not a good reason. You have to feel that fire inside you. I've always had that fire. Even when I was a kid, I saw my father and I always had that fire. I always knew I was going to be an entrepreneur. That's why, in fact, when I finished my university studies in San Francisco, I didn't stay too long in the United States. I went straight back to Mali. So once you've done that introspection, you have to have that vision. Everything starts with a vision. And my entrepreneurial vision was really to create a Pan-African hotel chain. And that's what we managed to do in 30 years. And to realize your vision, you need strategy. So you need to surround yourself with highly competent people. And that's what I've done. I'm not a hotelier. So the first hotel I bought, I brought in a hotelier to manage it. Well, to this day, I've never managed a hotel because I'm a financier. I'm not a hotelier. So I always say this to young people. Just because you set up your own business doesn't mean you have to manage it. Or if you have the technical skills, manage it. But if you don't, like me, I didn't have any hotel skills. I recruited some very good hoteliers, the first of whom was Bertrand Boya and his wife, Sylvia Boya, who opened the Grand Hotel, recruited people and trained them. As I said earlier, the Azalai Group operational success is due to the fact that I found the right people at the right time. It's because I got a very good manager from the start, like Bertrand Boya and his wife, with a strategic vision. After that, the rest is about values and resilience, because entrepreneurship is an obstacle race, and every day you have an obstacle to overcome. If you give up at the first or second obstacle, you are not made to be an entrepreneur. You have to be resilient. I've come close to bankruptcy on several occasions. I've had lots of failures, but I never gave up. I always kept going. I've always said to myself, no matter how dark it gets, the sun always rises. Then you have to be simple and humble. You have to grow with your business, not grow before your business. I see a lot of young people who start up as soon as things start to work a bit, then they jump on the fast track, do all kinds of useless things, and after a few years, the business disappears. So you have to grow with your business little by little and keep your head on your shoulders. Then you have to be honest and have intellectual and moral probity, because without that, you're going nowhere. And I always say to young people, and I say it again and again, to all those who want to embark on this career of entrepreneurship, your greatest capital is not what's on your account. It's how other people see you. If they have confidence in you, they will help you.
What were the main challenges you overcame?
We faced a number of challenges. The main ones are, and these are challenges that are still with us today. The main one is access to land. In most West African countries, town halls, municipalities, and states do not set aside areas reserved for the development of tourism and the hotel industry. So for the first 15 years, we took part in invitations to tender, privatizations, and state-run hotels. After that, we had to start looking for land and developing greenfield sites, in other words, building hotels. So that was the first challenge, a big one. When you want to start a hotel or tourism business, it's hard to get serviced land with water, electricity, roads, and so on. There are countries like Morocco, the Seychelles, and Mauritius that do it well. All these major tourism countries in Africa have understood that to attract investment in this sector, you first have to make land available and sell it at affordable prices. The second major challenge is to mobilize financing. This is still an issue. Hotel projects take time. Hotel projects consume an enormous amount of capital. We have just opened a hotel in Dakar. We invested 29 billion CFA francs in it. That's almost 50 million euros. The shareholders contributed 40% of that. We have to get the rest from the bank. banks, so that's another challenge. How to raise the finance, and the third challenge is that of human resources, which is also a current issue.
Welcome to the second part of our show. We now head for Bamako, the Malian capital, for this second report. In a country still threatened by terrorism, the inhabitants have shown an exceptional spirit of initiative and entrepreneurship. Take this young entrepreneur, for example, who has proven that waste can find an unexpected second life. His solution is to transform it into eco-friendly paving stones, which will be used to cover some of Bamako's roads. The promise is a new aesthetic and unprecedented durability for urban infrastructure. Sayon Koroma, our special correspondent in Mali, was there. Take a look.
In the middle of the day, an initiative comes to life in a quiet corner of Bamako, the Malian capital. Sheikh and his loyal assistant set about collecting plastic waste in a way that transcends appearances. Behind the seemingly simple act lies a crucial mission to promote environmental sustainability. Our cameras followed them on a collection day in Moribabugu, a district on the outskirts of Bamako. For this 23-year-old, this initiative embodies eco-responsibility.
It's to protect the environment. Plastics are non-biodegradable. It's an activity that not only helps to keep the town clean, but also to combat environmental pollution. Waste is gold. You can do a lot with waste, and it can be recycled.
Once the waste has been collected, the conversion phase takes place in the workshop. The recovered plastics are carefully sorted and then fed into the oven. The heat in the oven does the rest. The plastic melts, giving new life to what was once simple waste. This melted material is then poured into molds, creating ecological paving stones, ready to contribute to people's daily lives and improve the environment. In addition to its environmental impact, this initiative enables the young entrepreneur to generate 20,000 CFA francs a day.
We can do 2 square meters a day. With these 2 square meters, we can earn 20,000 francs. That's not bad. We're just getting by. The day we have the equipment, we need to produce large quantities, and why not generate a turnover of millions per day?
Beyond transforming plastic waste into paving stones, this initiative opens up new prospects. For Ibrahim, aged 19, this recycling project is much more than a simple environmental initiative. It represents a real opportunity for the future.
This is an eco-responsible project. We firmly believe in the future of what recycling represents. We are getting involved in the hope of becoming self-sufficient and developing ourselves independently. My involvement is also motivated by the fact that I can earn 3,000 francs a day, an amount that meets some of our needs.
With this in mind, the young entrepreneur highlights another innovative aspect of his initiative. The paving stones they produce have unique characteristics compared to those made from cement.
It's the finished product. These paving stones can last over 100 years with us. They can be used for both housing and roads. They're hard-wearing and highly effective, unlike other paving stones made from cement.
These paving stones will not be confined to the workshop. They now embellish the streets of Bamako, offering a new aesthetic and durability to the urban infrastructure. We visited Badalabugu Sima, where this 125-meter-long, 8-meter-wide road has been paved with cobblestones designed by Sheikh Koulibaly.
The whole road is cobbled right to the bottom. You can even see down below how it was done. Can you see? The 10-ton tippers drive over it without any problem. According to the engineer, it has a lifespan over 40 to 50 years. We'd also like to thank Cheikh for his contribution. These paving stones were made using very little sand, and the rest is plastic.
And Sheikh Coulibaly is dreaming big. His ambition is to turn this project into a thriving business in the heart of Bamako to combat pollution and reduce the risk of illness linked to this waste. A dream that is already coming true thanks to this promising initiative.
My biggest dream is to have the necessary equipment to increase production and satisfy our customers. I hope to have the equipment I need in the near future because waste is causing so much damage in our country, Mali. I thought it was time to find a solution to recycle this waste.
According to the Bamako Regional Development Agency, the Malian capital produces an average of 2,000 tons of waste daily. It ranks 16th out of the 25 most polluted cities in the world. The government is struggling to finance these growing needs. Still, it has announced plans to build 2 new modern landfill sites at Nububugu and Mantugula to enable waste to be treated and sorted.
And we're back with our guest, Mossadeck Bally, for the rest of this interview. Beyond his entrepreneurial success, he is also actively engaged in a life mission dedicated to serving others. Aware of the importance of education and training for individual and collective development, he founded an initiative to offer learning and professional development opportunities to talented young Africans. Listen to him.
You created training centers in 2015. Can you tell us more about them?
When we realized that there were no schools or training centers for the hotel industry, we decided to set up our own center in Mali using our own resources. So we took a percentage of our sales and invested it in a building in the annex of the Grand Hotel in Bamako. We invested in it. We recruited teachers, a director, teachers, and we don't just give practical training in the trade. We are also training, upskilling young people, and in almost 8 years that this school has been in existence, we have been very satisfied to see that almost 90% of the young people who leave are able to find employment in hotels, restaurants, airport lounges, and with diplomats. So that's a great source of satisfaction for me and for the whole Azalai group, because we believe that to be a good corporate citizen, you have to invest in training the next generation and therefore young people.
Can we talk about Mali? The country has a fairly negative image and has been experiencing major crises since 2012. How have you managed to overcome them?
That's a very good question. In fact, I often say when I go to investors' conferences, where we talk about Africa, I tell them to listen. If you spend your time watching CNN, BBC, RFI, France 24 and all that, you're never going to invest on the continent. Because, unfortunately, Africa is not telling its own story. It is told by others, and the others are only looking for sensationalism. So when there's a coup d'etat in Mali or Burkina Faso, the world's television channels go to report it. Yes, when there are rebellions, all that. But we don't talk about the tremendous economic transformation we're experiencing on the continent. The proof is that the Azalai Hotel Group was created in 1994 in Mali, 3 years after the coup d'etat of March 1991, 3 years after the end of the rebellion in 1990. So this is a post-conflict country, a country that has just emerged from a coup d'etat, from a rebellion, from a post-conflict Sahelian country. Despite all that, we have succeeded, starting with a hotel in Mali and developing a hotel chain that today has 12 hotel units in 8 countries, starting with a Sahelian country, Mali. So despite the visiting institutes, despite the institutional and political crisis, the economy is still there. The economy is growing. The needs are still there. There are still travelers, tourists, there are still businessmen and women, diplomats who come, who need to sleep, to eat, to meet. You still have a growing middle class that spends, for example, on a wedding, etc. So I would like us Africans to appropriate our own narrative, and I'm very happy that you are giving me this opportunity to express myself on your media. This narrative needs to change. Africa is not just desolation, rebellions, and coup d'etats. Yes, there are problems, but the underlying trend is that the African economy is undergoing a fantastic transformation.
You are the leader in the Pan-African hotel industry. How do you stand out from the other groups present on the continent?
I always tell my colleagues that customers who travel to our countries who need hotel services are not going to come because we say Azalai is African. We're going to help an African hotel chain. No, these are customers who travel to spend money and pay, often very dearly, all over the world. They want to find in Africa, in Bamako, Abidjan, Cotonou, the same international standard that they will find in Paris, New York, anywhere. A smooth booking service, a warm welcome with a smile, a room that works, Wi-Fi that works, and all that, everywhere. It's the same thing whether you're a European customer, an African customer, or an Asian customer. So, it's the same international standards, except that we put Africa first. Africa is in our DNA.
How do you see the future of Azalai Hotel?
I remain convinced that we still have a long way to go. Of course, to stabilize our countries in institutional and security terms. But if I had to go back 40 years and resume my career, I would do it again on the African continent, because that's where the real opportunities are. It's the only continent that still hasn't, I'll say, barely got off the ground economically. It's the continent where everything remains to be done. It is the continent where the subsoil is the richest of the 5 continents. But unfortunately, we have the poorest population, which is an anomaly. It's the youngest continent. In my country, Mali, 70% of the population is under 21. So this is a fantastic opportunity. I think there are a lot of development opportunities for the Azalai Group, both in West Africa and in other parts of Africa. I also like to take this opportunity to appeal to the diaspora. So Africa needs its diaspora to invest, to bring skills, to bring experience, and so this is also an appeal and making to the diaspora.
Africa is the place to be.
Thank you, Mossadeck Bally.
C'est moi.
Well, that's it. Initiative Africa is over for today. You can find the interview with Mossadeck Bally as well as our programs on our website, africana.com. And of course, don't hesitate to follow us on our social media channels, to share, like, and comment with the hashtag Initiative Africa. And don't forget to tune in next week, same time, same channel, for Business Africa. Have a great week, and until next time, goodbye.